All right. We're connected. Are we on? We are on. Rest in peace to Fred Smith. The FedEx founder, Fred Smith, has died at age 80. His family will save money on the funeral by packing his body in a flat rate coffin. I think that's a smart way to go. Hi, everybody. I'm Kenny Webster. Thanks for getting connected to us today. If you're listening to us live on the radio, you need no introduction. We're here at the same time every day. We are live streaming today on social media, and I have a special guest in studio, somebody that is not normally here. I often invite people that don't agree with us ideologically on the show. Liberals, communists, pinkos, authoritarians, socialists, neocons. Very rarely do they take the invitation. Almost never, as a matter of fact. One person who did take the invitation is Texas lawmaker, Texas House of Representatives District 132 primary candidate Sara McGee, who is very well known to some of our listeners on X. As you are frequently on I invited you on the show and you accepted the invitation.
I did.
How does it feel to be here in the you're in the den of republicanism right now?
No, it's good. It's good. I live in the den of republicanism, so this is almost like home to me.
You are running for office right now against Mike Schofield. I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about Mike. Isn't he kind of he's a sort of a right of center, kind of wishy-washy Republican. I don't know a lot about the guy.
No, he's far right.
You think he's on the far right?
Yeah, he's far right. And actually, to be honest, not many people know much about him. He's pretty quiet. He doesn't post on X. Hasn't posted in over a year. His interns run his Facebook page, and it's just a picture of him shaking hands at different events. And
he's not real politically active. Now, to be fair, he won his district this last time around by about 20 points, almost 20 points, 18 points. The time before that, again, roughly 19 points. In a victory there. Let's see. The time before that, a little closer, he beat Gina Kalani by only a few points. But for the last few years, he's been crushing it. And then he was in office. He left office. He came back to office. Am I understanding this correctly?
Correct.
So he's been around for a while. There was a brief go there where he left office, and then he came back. And that's, I would say most of the time, if not for a little blip on the radar, this has been a deep red district, but you describe it as a purple district.
I do. And the reason I say that is because the last time that my district flipped, he didn't leave office. He was elected out of office.
He was unelected.
So the last time my district flipped was during the midterms of Trump's first term.
So what did Gina do? What did Gina do to get rid of him? And then why did he come back?
So basically exactly the same thing I'm doing, which is just I decided I was going to run for office shortly after the election. And I knew that I wasn't going to have, because to earn his seat back, he spent $1.8 million on a state house race, which is pretty incredible because usually they run around $100,000. So I made the decision that in order to beat that, I was going to be everywhere, meet everyone, have face-to-face conversations. I am out in my community every single day. And that's the same thing Gina did. She knocked on over 10,000 doors and just had face-to-face conversations with people.
She went door to door, but you're very active on social media.
I am. And that's an element to it, but it's crazy because 90% of the people that I meet out in the community don't have Twitter.
Does that work? Do you think that being on Twitter helps? Because you see, there's this scam now. I don't know if it's a scam. It's a grift where people are pretending to run for office.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not running for office.
Yeah.
They're running for social media followers.
You know.
I mean, it's true. There's
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a reason why, and it's in my highlights, and it was pinned for a while, a post where I posted all of the pictures from all of the events that I've done, because that's the craziest thing. Like, I made this decision and I was like, okay, running for office, filed my paperwork with the state, set up all my socials, set up my website, the things that you have to do for office. My Twitter will say that it was set up in 2023, but it was really just like my alt account that I would use to look at people who had blocked me before.
Right.
But like you do. And so it was like December when I actually started using that account, and I had 5 followers.
Okay.
And so I am absolutely running for office. The Twitter blow up has been completely unexpected, and now it's just kind of a fun thing.
What's the blow up? What is it? How is it?
Because I'm just saying the things that a lot of people are thinking. Like, if we're being completely honest, I'm not far left. I'm not.
I mean, I'm looking at your tweets here. Hang on. Let's put one up on the screen.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So you've got to get Republicans to vote for you. And hang on, I want people to look at what we're looking at here. And yes,
true. Yeah, no, I said it. I'll stand by that, honestly.
Yesterday, Jasmine Crockett, who's considered to be one of the most extremist left-wing politicians in America, said that Republicans were complicit in endangering the lives of American troops. I'm shortening her tweet here. And then you said every Republican in this country is complicit. Now, you're going to need to get, a lot of Republicans to vote for you. Do you think it's kind of like when Hillary called every Republican deplorable? Do you think that works well for you?
I will tell you why I don't have a problem saying things like that. And if that pops up, because I have one thing. I don't have handlers. Every single word and every single letter that you see on that Twitter account comes directly from me. Nobody runs my account. I have one filter and one filter only, and it is before I hit send, I'm like, how would this look in an attack ad?
Okay.
So that actually did run through my head. But I don't think, and I think this is something that's being taken for granted so far, is I don't think people understand how many Republicans are done. So done. I have more Republicans in my DMs on Twitter than I do Democrat by far. It's like 4-1.
But let's look at the map real quick. Okay, so this is where you're running, right? Hold on, let me get this on the screen here. I just want everybody to see this. For those that don't know where District 132 is, we're talking about Grimes, if I'm not mistaken, Cypress. We are talking about
Harris. It's exclusively Harris, and then a section of Waller. Yeah, section of Waller.
Yeah, not Grimes. Waller. Waller County, home to Kenny Allen, home to the Great Waller County meth lab explosion of 1992. Hockley. When you drive out to this part of the state, do you feel like these are people that are done with the Republican Party? I mean,
I will tell you, and this is why I'm following the strategy of talking to as many. You have any idea how many times I hear I'm a Republican, but I would vote for you?
How often do you hear that?
Every single time I have a conversation with a Republican.
Is it possible they're messing with you?
No. And
how do you know that?
So I'll tell you why. And this is what's going on in Texas, right? We have this crazy phenomenon in Texas where we tend to focus only on national politics, and people look at, wars, no wars, immigration, tax rates, all of the things. And so people will lean, on the Republican side, and then they think that they have to vote up and down ballot that way. And then you bring it back to a state level. People don't, depending on the poll that you look at, between 75 and 85% of people think that our abortion laws are too restrictive.
Okay.
65% of people think that marijuana should be legalized for recreational use.
Well, then they're going to love what the governor just did. He just vetoed the bill.
I know, but it's not over yet. But 65% of people think that we should have some sort of access to sports betting, like whether it's online sports betting or, actual casinos. 65% of people did not want school vouchers. And so you just go down the list and down the list and down the list. And
But
so
are you
when
talking about 65% of Texans? Or
Texans, 65% of Texans. And
Okay.
so that's the thing. So when I have conversations with these people and I'm like, you know, vote however you want at the national level, but when we're looking at the state level, these people they've lost the plot. They're working for their donors.
But
not
you're
their
not running for
constituents.
statewide office. You're running in district. You're running in Waller, where people
Harris
are going to
County.
be spending most of their time at church or, on a farm.
So it's not Waller, and I grew up, so it's Katy.
I mean, it is Waller. We just looked at the map.
It's like a section of Waller, but the
Look,
most.
that's Waller right there. I mean, that's it.
That's the tip of it. But 75% of my district, it falls into Harris County.
Okay.
And so I have Katy.
But we're not talking about like the Heights. We're talking about Katy, Texas, where people are looking for a deal at the Katy Mills Mall. They're not...
but let me tell you the situation with Katy, because I grew up in Katy, because that's why I'm particularly energetic about this district, is I've lived in this district for 41 years. I grew up in Katy. I went to Katy High School. And so when I'm talking, the home of Friday Night Lights did not want vouchers. I have talked to person after person after person after person that will be switching their vote for that and that alone. And I have half Katy and half Cy-Fair ISD.
All right, I want to talk about school choice. Why is it that every leader in your party, particularly black Democrats a decade, 15 years ago, loved school choice? And then the Randy Weingarten, the leader of the teachers union, got involved. You guys neglected to tell anybody she was a leader in the DNC for what, a decade? Just recently stepped down mysteriously. We all sat through the pandemic. We watched Randy Weingarten and the Democrat Party advocate to close the schools.
Yeah, for sure.
Put kids in front of computer screens.
Yeah.
The reason why people suddenly like the school choice movement, which you say they don't like, but overwhelmingly seems to be popular with my listeners, who, by the way, live in the place that we just looked at on that map, like school choice, is because of what I just described. They didn't want their kids sitting alone in a room staring at a computer screen. 10, 15 years ago, Sheila Jackson Lee, Al Green, who's now trying to impeach the president, the late Sylvester Turner, they all liked school choice. And then they suddenly changed their mind. Why? What happened?
Because it sounded like a good idea. It sounded like a good idea until you find out what it is actually comprised of.
And then how do we know what it's comprised of?
Because we're not the first, like anything, Texas is usually the last to do a lot of things. And so you've seen how it's been implemented in
Give me an
other
example.
states. So like Arizona, like 85% of the people that are utilizing the school voucher system in Arizona were already enrolled in private school. It's not helping the people that it's supposed to help.
Well, how do you know? That's anecdotal. That doesn't mean
That's
anything.
not anecdotal.
So if somebody's a middle-class
studied.
family and they're dipping into their annual or their monthly salary, and they're saying, I could barely afford private school, but the public schools here are so terrible.
Yeah.
With drag queen story hour, people coming to school.
Okay.
And I mean,
name one place. See, and that's the thing. And this is where face-to-face conversations are so important in this election. There is not a single school in District 132 that has drag queen story hour. So that's not relevant to the people that are going to vote for me.
okay, but that's because we outlawed it here in the state, right?
So why are we still talking about it?
Because there are people that don't want, a devout communist educating their children. There are people that look at the public schools and they say, hey, I want something that's more catered to what my kids want. I want my child to be around people who share my belief system.
Or what their parents want.
Yes, what their parents want. Yes. Well, yes, exactly.
Well, yeah, so it's not, it's parents'
I mean,
choice.
Sarah, a 7-year-old doesn't know what they want, right? A 7-year-old wants Skittles for dinner, right? Do you think that's a good idea to give them that? Or do you think that we should let them eat whatever they want?
I mean, that depends. Every once in a while, Skittles
That
for
depends?
dinner.
What do you mean that depends?
Every once in a while, Skittles for dinner is okay.
All right,
Come on, live a little.
All right, hang on a second here.
You're listening to Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness. Please, if you're offended by anything you heard, take out a piece of paper, write down a detailed description of what bothered you, and fax it to 1-888. Nobody gives a
Hey, everybody, quick reminder while we are saving what we just did there. I am going to be live this weekend in Fort Worth at Big Laugh Comedy Club. Here is where you can go check us out. I'm going to be with Jesse Payton Friday and Saturday night at a place called Big Laugh Comedy Club. It's the Panther Room, apparently. I've never been there before. It's in Fort Worth. We have 4 shows, 2 shows Friday night, 2 shows Saturday night. If you guys want to come hang out with us, tickets are available right now. At some point, that will probably sell out. It is a couples-themed comedy show. I've been touring all over the country recently with Chad Prather and Jesse Payton, doing 2 tours simultaneously. One of them is the right side of comedy. The other is couples therapy. If you don't like political humor, come out to this if you're in Fort Worth this weekend. Big Laugh Comedy Club. That's going to be a lot of fun. Come hang out with us. Tickets are available for that right now. If you're watching us on social media, stand by. We are going to continue recording right now with Sara McGee. Stick around. All right, people are pretty mad about this. A report claimed that ICE agents were turned away from Dodgers Stadium by the team because apparently no team wants an all-white infield. I can't think of another reason. You know what else is funny about that? Apparently it never even happened. Tom Homan came out, said it wasn't real. You know, there's a lot in this world that's not real. I've just been told by my guest standing in front of me that most of you watching me on social media, people that live in District 132, don't actually want school choice. Which I'm surprised to hear you say that, Sara McGee. She is a Democrat primary candidate, because we just had an election last year in which a lot of people that were against school choice got primaried out.
They did.
And this was the #1 topic that people were discussing.
No.
But now you claim because of polling data that they don't actually want the thing that they all just voted for. And I got to ask, how do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you go and look back at what the primary candidates actually ran on, they ran on border security and immigration. And property taxes.
I gotta disagree with you.
They did not mention. So if you go look at Glenn Rogers' race, Glenn Rogers is one of the Republicans that lost his seat.
Sara, you're on a radio show right now where all these candidates called in and talked about their support for school choice in front of listeners who called in and asked questions about it. Were those people just hallucinating? Were they on much? We all remember last year. Did it not really happen? They sat in the chair you're sitting in right now and talked about it. Did that not actually happen?
No, asked to see the mailers that went out to all the primary voters.
Okay, but on this talk radio show and on social media, that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
So something showing up in your mail that discussed immigration wasn't the sum total of the election, was it?
No, it wasn't. But that was the fear-mongering talking point that was working last cycle. So that's what they went with.
Okay. That was what was the fear mongering?
Ask a single.
What was the fear mongering?
Republican
School choice or the immigration thing?
Immigration,
you live in a city where Jocelyn Nungary got raped to death under a bridge by 2 illegal immigrants.
I did.
And now we're naming an animal preserve after her.
Yeah, that's correct.
Did that not happen?
No, that absolutely happened. It was an absolute tragedy.
Okay.
Yeah. I hate that the conversation goes to, because this one person was killed by an immigrant, let's ignore all of the other women that are raped and murdered every year. Like, we never talk about them, which is very unfortunate. But because she was killed by an immigrant.
But that doesn't stop this from happening.
Yeah.
Between last year and right now, have you seen how much the murder rate has gone down? It has dropped exponentially, like double point. Like, we're talking 10, 20 percentage points in some parts of the country. And they attribute that to exporting illegal immigrants that were involved in organized crime. Do you think that wasn't happening?
So do you have immigration numbers? Because they've not been made publicly available.
Immigration?
Since February.
Pertaining to what?
To deportations.
You don't think that we're deporting criminal illegal aliens?
I don't. Not at the numbers that we were under Joe Biden. I don't.
You think? I'm sorry.
I absolutely don't.
Sara, this is amazing to me.
No, and this is amazing.
Hold on, back up. I just want to repeat what you just said.
Kenny, I'll tell you why.
Hold on, Sara. Hang on.
Yes,
Let me drive the show.
For sure.
You think that Joe Biden was deporting more illegal immigrants than Donald Trump?
I absolutely 100% do.
And based on what?
I will tell you why. Do I think that Donald Trump is detaining more people? Yes. Detaining? Yes. Deporting? No.
You don't think he's deporting more people?
No. I think he's detaining more people.
And what are you basing this off of?
Well, a few things. If you look at the bill that they're trying to pass through Congress, the detention budget has gone from $6 billion a year to $45 billion a year. And then look at the private prison donors that Donald Trump has been collecting from. What? They're opening all of these private detention centers and they're funneling government money into these private prisons.
Okay.
And holding them there indefinitely.
Did you have a problem when we were doing that with the NGOs?
Doing what?
Taking private money and giving it to public money and giving it to private organizations?
Well, I mean, it depends on what your beliefs are, because those are also NGOs,
what
right?
about handing out Kamala Harris's book and Capri Suns and Lunchables to illegal immigrants at the border?
Well, I mean, that's just humanitarian.
It's humanitarian to give them a free copy of Kamala Harris's book?
I mean, Okay, but Capri Suns and Lunchables, like you're gonna wrap it all up. Like
It's filled with red dye number 82 and corn syrup is very bad for their health, Sarah.
I'm pretty sure a starving kid that just walked across the desert is happy to have a Capri Sun and a.
Don't you think it's more concerning that a child just walked across the desert alone? I mean, that's terrifying, right?
It is terrifying.
And so we're helping them out. I mean, if a child gets unaccompanied minors is what we call them. Generally, they're being trafficked by somebody. So now you say you're an ex-Republican, and now you're joining a political party that advocated for that system.
No.
And you're going to flip a red district?
Okay, here's the problem. Here's the problem with immigration. Nobody allows this conversation to have any sort of nuance whatsoever. It's either open borders or don't allow anyone.
No, I'm for immigration. I love it. I love immigrants.
But nobody has ever had the conversation about why our immigration numbers jump so high to begin with.
The president and the vice president are both married to immigrants. Do you think Republicans are? No, they are.
No, I know.
I'm sure they are.
But that's not why our immigration
But you immediately
numbers...
said no to me. Are you conditioned to just disagree with me? I just told you something you knew to be true.
No. I wasn't disagreeing with you.
You just disagreed with me. You did disagree with me, Sarah. I said the president and the vice president are married to immigrants.
I wasn't saying no in a way like I was disagreeing with you. I was like, no, but we're still not talking about, like, that's what I was going at with that. I wasn't saying, no, you're wrong. Like, I know they're married to immigrants.
But we want immigrants. Most people want immigrants. And we want legal immigrants.
Yeah,
right?
And we still won't talk about why immigration went up in the first place.
Okay, why did immigration go up?
So COVID destroyed the world, obviously. And for different reasons, and we can blame it on whoever, and
But if we did blame it on one thing, what would we blame it on?
What would we blame COVID on?
Yeah, what caused the pandemic?
Oh, I mean, I guess the most recent data said that there was a lab leak from China.
Okay, we agree on that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
moving forward. So COVID is causing people to come here?
So COVID destroyed the world. It destroyed supply chains. It destroyed, economies, especially economies that were in the, countries that were to the most, that we share borders with.
Okay.
And then America recovered faster than any other developed nation in the world. So when you have countries,
according to what data?
According to, well, I mean, any data that you can
I mean, if you watch
available.
CNN and MSNBC, they overwhelmingly said that America was handling the pandemic the worst, that we had an abysmal...
Yeah, until we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, until we passed the...
You think the Inflation Reduction Act saved us from COVID?
I don't think it saved us from COVID. I think it helped our economy recover faster
don't you
than
think,
other nations.
How did it do that?
Because it invested in our economy. It started creating jobs. It started to help, getting people back to work. So
tell me someone who got a job because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Let me finish my thought let me finish my thought before we jump to the next one.
Okay, well, I'm just following talking point to talking point.
When you have an economy when unemployment is dropping faster than any other nation in the world, and you can look at that, you can actually look that up and verify it, and you have nations that border you that are sitting at 30 to 40% unemployment and still haven't recovered from the pandemic.
Probably because they didn't end the lockdowns.
People were desperate for jobs. They're just trying to feed their families. So they're going to look for somewhere that they can come. Wouldn't you say the
real reason why we probably recovered from the pandemic is because we opened up our economy in red states, while in Europe and Australia they kept it locked down? The very things that you're talking about are things that liberals wanted, right? They wanted the economy to remain closed.
No.
And then when we opened up, well, of course they did. Then why did Australia close their economy? Why did Chicago and Los Angeles and New York wait until 2 years after the pandemic was pretty much over to finally say, okay, you can go to bars again?
Yeah, but if we wanted that, why didn't we do it when Joe Biden was inaugurated?
We
didn't close the economy back down.
When Joe Biden was inaugurated, the blue states were all closed. The red states were all open. And we saw that the economy in the red states was recovering vastly fast. If you're talking about what part of the American economy recovered, hang on, Sarah. If you're talking about what part of the American economy recovered the fastest during the pandemic, it was Florida, it was Texas, it wasn't California, it wasn't New York, it wasn't Illinois. Weirdly enough, the Inflation Reduction Act benefited the red states the most. Sarah, come on.
I know, but here, and I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because that is the difference between Democrats and Republicans, is you value money and I value lives. Because more people,
just made the argument that the Inflation Reduction Act helped the economy.
More people died in the red states than in the blue states.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. They absolutely did.
According to what?
Look at the
pneumonia data?
No, look at the people who. Okay,
Sarah, this is where
we're getting off the mark. I work at a hospital, so I mean, I was in the thick of it. So you can tell me that COVID was a hoax and it didn't this and it didn't that. when you have a truck outside that you're having to stock, bodies in a refrigerated truck, like it's going to be kind of hard to sell the conspiracy theories with somebody that was actually in the thick of it. So
okay, well, let's look at it. Number of COVID deaths in California. Let's see. I'm just looking at.
We'll go per capita.
Number of COVID deaths. Okay, well, in that case, so we're going to compare it to what? Like, let's compare it to Florida per capita, because Texas is a red state, but it's on the border. Would you agree that probably affected it a little bit?
I don't have the. I mean, I'm not going to speculate. I don't have the data in front of me.
You don't think that us being on the border may have had some effect on our COVID infection rate? We had people walking over the border, unvaccinated, unvetted, not being screened for COVID, just walking over. You don't think that affected us at all?
It's crazy that you say that, and then you have Riley Gaines who's complaining that her husband can't get immigration status because he refuses the COVID vaccine, which basically proves that they're one of the stipulations to becoming an immigrant is having a COVID vaccine.
I don't know anything about Riley Gaines' husband. I don't know anything about it.
Well, that's her issue with.
Okay, COVID death rate per capita. Let's say California. Okay, where you say it's pretty low, right? And then we'll put in the same thing for Florida.
Per capita.
COVID death rate per capita, Florida. Okay, I'm sure you're probably right about this. You're a medical professional, but I'd like to look it up here. Let's see. 281 deaths per 100,000 in California, and it's still calculating it on Florida. I don't know, while we're waiting for the computer. Okay, but the point you're getting at is it had nothing to do with the fact that red states opened up sooner. It had everything to do with the Inflation Reduction Act.
No. That's honestly, that's not.
But that is what you said.
I mean, it is. I'd said the Inflation Reduction Act helped.
Okay.
But another thing that's disappointing is that we have drifted this conversation to relitigating COVID when I'm running for like a state house seat in 132. And
you brought up COVID.
No. I
didn't bring it up.
Well, because we were talking about why immigration got so bad. So we can debate on what made our economy great. But
it was COVID, you say.
Anyway.
It wasn't bad before 2019. The immigration wasn't an issue then.
I mean, it stayed pretty consistent over the years. It stayed pretty consistent.
During the Trump years, it went down, right? And then during the Biden years, we opened up the border and it shot up. You don't think that's what happened?
Okay, see, here's where the pandering comes in, though. Because
pandering?
You can go back to live streams of the Texas legislature in 2019 when they're sitting on the floor discussing how bad the border crisis is in Texas at the border. Briscoe Cain was one of the guys that was in on that hearing.
Let's call him.
Call Briscoe?
Let's call Briscoe. All right, I'll tell you what. If you're watching us on social media, stick around. We're running out of time on the radio, sadly enough. But we're running out of time on the radio. If you're watching us on social media, don't go anywhere. I'm Kenny Webster. I have loved being on the radio with all of you this afternoon. This conversation continues right now on social media. Stand by. I'm going to call Briscoe Cain.
You are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when you listen to this show.
All right, everybody. I'm calling Briscoe Cain. Stand by.
I'd really prefer a text message. Take care. God bless.
Briscoe, it's Kenny. I have Sara McGee in studio. Call me back, buddy. Want to talk to you. All right, he did not answer. All right.
So there was a hearing that was held in the Texas legislature in 2019 in which they were talking back and forth about how bad the border crisis was, and the Democrats were asking to please file a resolution to ask the federal government for money, and the Republicans were pushing back on it because they didn't want to put Donald Trump under the fire.
Okay.
So it's all theater. It is all theater. And that's what is so frustrating about these conversations.
All right.
Is they didn't care about the border when Donald Trump was president.
They did
now
build a wall. During Trump's presidency, the wall you wouldn't let us build, the wall the Democrats said, that was all we talked about.
Have you
all
seen
we talked about for 3 years was a wall and a Russian collusion hoax.
Get on your phone right now and Google the wall that Greg Abbott wasted $3 billion of Texas taxpayer dollars on. Get on your phone and look it up right now.
I'm aware of the fact that he wanted to build a wall.
$3 billion that he wasted our taxpayer dollars on.
You guys gave $100 billion to Ukraine. What's the difference?
That was bipartisan.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it
That was the neocons. It was not what Republicans
It was
wanted.
bipartisan.
Okay, well, in that case, the wall was bipartisan because there was a handful of Democrats.
I'm talking
by that logic,
specifically-
everything's bipartisan.
I'm talking specifically about Greg Abbott in the state of Texas.
Okay.
And that he spent $3 billion of Texas taxpayer dollars when people are being taxed out of their homes to build a wall that is embarrassing. Pull up a picture.
You don't
Put it
think
up.
this is a wall that people? I believe you. I remember, and now apparently
Yeah,
the
and we
big
can
beautiful
talk-
bill is supposed to reimburse us for that.
We can, like that's going to pass.
Okay, but Texas is one of the only states. Hey, I don't love the big beautiful bill.
Nobody does.
No, well, nobody loved the Inflation Reduction Act. It was a very unpopular.
It was a bipartisan bill.
It was a
when
bipartisan
You
with
say
it.
nobody. I feel like you're talking about your very specific brand of Republican.
Let's talk about it. Okay, Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Where is she now? She's no longer in office, right?
Correct.
Okay, who are the other Republicans that supported it?
Supported what, the Inflation Reduction Act?
What's his name? Kinzinger? Where's he now?
Adam Kinzinger?
Yeah, he lives in the Woodlands. He's not in office anymore.
No, I know. I've
So a
met
bunch
him.
of Republicans that left office, basically. Who liked
Yeah,
it? What
those were the-
Republicans
those were
liked
the-
it?
Honestly, those were the Republicans.
I'll tell you,
that were principled.
I'm not a textbook MAGA Republican. I'm a Liberty Republican. I like
yeah.
Ron Paul.
Are you? Then why do you like the current Texas GOP? If you're a Liberty Republican.
This whole radio show revolves around
Yeah,
me
because I'm
criticizing.
the only-
Sarah, you ask a question. I'm driving the ship here.
correct. Yeah.
This whole radio show revolves around me criticizing Texas Republicans.
Okay.
You have never listened to this radio show before
No,
you
that's
appeared
correct.
on.
True.
Had you have listened to this for 5 minutes, you would have not have wasted your time asking that question.
Yeah. So why do you keep voting for them?
Voting for who?
Texas Republicans.
Voting? I don't. I try to primary them out of office all the time. That's the whole point of this show. That is what we do here. We try
Yeah.
to get rid of people like Dan Patrick, for example.
yeah.
We don't like Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
We want to replace him with someone better.
So who's your ideal Texas Republican?
I mean, Ron Paul.
Okay, but
Yeah.
I mean like currently in the Texas legislature.
Currently in the Steve Toth. Love Steve. See, a great guy. Ooh,
Okay.
look at the face. Look.
I know. Sorry, that's my dad's representative. So
So you don't like Steve's a great guy. What's wrong with Steve Toth?
he might be a nice guy. He's not a good legislator.
What, you don't like Briscoe? You just said you knew
Oh,
Briscoe.
I love Briscoe. No, I don't know him. I'm saying he was one of the people that was involved in the border conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you wanted a witness,
All right, I
'cause
wanna-
that was back in 2019.
We got to wrap this thing up because we're off the air now anyway. But before you leave, I want to try to help you out. So here's what we got on the screen here. This is the last guy who tried to win your
Chase.
district as a Democrat. You know this guy, Chase West?
I do know him.
Let's get real here for a minute. What Chase West, this guy lost by 20 points, Sarah.
Correct.
And he was just your standard run-of-the-mill Democrat. Here's what I think he did wrong. First of all, let's start with this. He only got one sleeve, right? Look at the sleeve tattoo.
That's your feedback for Chase.
Now, if he had two sleeves, that would have been something. Meanwhile, look at this. He's got the beard going on here, but there's a lot of neck beard going on. If he had cleaned up the neck a little
I'm
bit.
still trying to understand what that has to do with his policies.
Policies? Who said anything about policies?
Exactly.
I
So
am
y'all vote on people based on looks?
I'm telling you how you are going to win over moderates and independents,
Yeah.
right? You're going to win over moderates, and you got to get two sleeves. How many sleeves do you have right now?
Oh no, I only have a small micro tattoo.
What is it a tattoo of? What does it say?
It says protect your peace.
Sarah, is that an Auschwitz tattoo? Who does that?
Oh, for crying out loud. It says protect your peace. You're the worst.
What? It is in a very specific. You have chosen to put it in a very specific place.
Yeah, my daughter and I got matching.
Your daughter and you have matching tattoos?
Yeah, she's 22, so.
Okay. You don't look like you're old enough to have a 22-year-old
Yeah,
daughter.
I'm 44.
And why did you leave the Republican Party?
Because they stopped voting for things that I believe in.
What did you believe in before? War with Iraq? What was it you liked?
No.
Gay-
Yeah, I
you were-
honestly,
You were against gay marriage and then...
like a lot of people that have made the same decision, I woke up a lot later than if I had used some critical thinking and really thought about what I was voting for, I would have left a lot sooner.
Sarah, the old Republican Party
Yeah.
was anti-gay. It was pro-war. They spent money like communists.
Yeah.
They were weird, socially awkward.
Yeah.
That's the Republican Party you aligned yourself with, the old neocons that you don't like.
I hate to use this excuse, but a lot of people kind of stick with what they're raised with until they get older and start being affected by the policies that they're living under. And then the smart ones, educate themselves and align themselves more with their beliefs.
But what was it you liked about the old Republicans?
Again,
You weren't a Republican.
I was very.
Sarah,
but
I just caught you lying.
Here's my thing. I was a social. I was doing the whole my whole thing, and I've said this since I was 20 years old. Was that I was fiscally conservative but socially liberal because I wanted people to. So really, you could call me for a minute a libertarian because I wanted you love who you love, marry who you want. Do what you want. Live your life.
An underage kid. What? I'm asking you.
No, which is why I think it's abhorrent that 44 Texas Republicans voted to keep child marriage legal in Texas.
What was child marriage? What was it? How old were the kids?
16.
16.
Yeah, but their brains are not fully formed. You can't buy cigarettes. You can't join the military. You can't go to war, but you can sign a legal contract to bind yourself to another person.
See, I think you're onto something.
Absolutely not.
Sarah, I don't think 25-year-olds are old enough to vote. I think 24-year-olds, if you can't form a complete sentence, you shouldn't be able to vote.
Well, I mean, if you're old enough to go to war, then you're old enough to cast a vote.
I don't think an 18-year-old should be at war. They're on Adderall and they play too many video games. Here's what we do. We raise the voting age, all of it up to 25. Would you get behind that if we did it with the marital age?
Wait, with the marital age?
You can't get married till you're 25. You can't join the military till you're alcohol 25 because your brain's still forming, right? That seems like common sense to me. Don't you think so?
I mean, it does, but what does that have to do with 16-year-olds getting married?
The whole thing. If you can't get a tattoo, you can't get married, you shouldn't be able to vote, you shouldn't be able to drink alcohol. You can't form it. I think if you can't form have you ever talked to a 23-year-old? They're completely idiot. They're morons.
Well, I don't know. My kids are pretty smart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's call your kid. Let's call your kid right now and ask him questions about politics. Are you ready?
Sure.
No, we're not going to do
Absolutely. Call either one of them.
You want me to call your child live on the air?
You could call my child live on the air.
All right. Hold on a second here. Do you want to write down the phone number for me?
Let me just 1 second. I just need to make sure that they're not at work.
You need to prep them?
No, not prep them. I'm just going to look at Life 360 and see if they're home. If they're home, then...
Do you have a way to look it up? It's okay. Yeah. It's a fleeting... the idea has already passed me by. We have to wrap this up.
Okay.
I got to run soon, and I think you do too. Sarah, bottom line me on this. We just looked at a tweet here not long ago where you said every Republican is complicit in the entire country.
That's
here.
correct.
They're complicit for what?
The things that are happening suck. The things that are going on in this country right now are objectively horrible.
Okay, so the stock market's up, illegal immigration's down, the homicide numbers have dropped, drug overdoses have dropped by 20%.
What?
I'm telling you that
According to who?
According to raw empirical data.
Did you know that 70
data.
American citizens have been deported?
70 Americans?
70 American citizens have been deported.
Name them all. Go. What? How do you know that?
You have access to the internet just as well as I do.
The most famous one. Let's put the most famous one on the screen here. Maryland dad, who's in trouble right now for what is it? Child porn, human trafficking, and beating his wife. This is like the poster boy you guys use for the people that weren't supposed to get deported. This guy beat his wife and looked at kiddie porn, and now he's in trouble for human trafficking.
Porn.
That's what they said. He was associated.
What are you talking about?
They said that Maryland dad was.
It's this sort of rhetoric.
Maryland dad was accused of looking at hang on a second.
Accused? So now we're just so that's why y'all don't like due process. Got it. So you just want to accuse people of things and just ruin their entire lives without actually going to court. Is that what you're saying?
It sounds a lot like
it sounds like you really are on board with eliminating due process.
It sounds like 7 shocking allegations against Kilmar Garcia from participating in murder to soliciting child porn.
Totally makes sense. Now I understand why y'all are pushing to.
So you're telling me this guy
get rid of due process.
When we send this guy to court, you're telling me that we're never going to find out that this guy looked at child porn.
I have absolutely no idea. I haven't taken him to court.
Okay,
but the thing is, you have already convicted him.
But this is one of the people you guys say was an American citizen, and he wasn't.
Have you ever been accused of something that you didn't do?
No, I've never had. No, absolutely not.
You've never been accused of anything you didn't do.
I am a model citizen. No, absolutely not.
I mean, honestly,
most of the things I've been accused of doing wrong, I probably did wrong. I'm going to be honest with you. We have to wrap this up.
Yeah,
Sarah,
honestly.
tell us why you think all of these Republicans who are complicit in all the bad things happening should vote for you. Go ahead.
Well, so if we're talking about very specifically in my district, it's because I stand for things that my district wants. They don't want school choice. They want fully funded public schools. They want increased reproductive rights, and they want legalized cannabis. And they want lower property taxes, which, by the way, even though Republicans use that as a talking point, I am the only lawmaker who has actually put out a plan to eliminate property taxes.
I love the idea of lowering property taxes, but you're joining a political party that wants to raise property taxes everywhere.
That is absolutely incorrect.
I live in Harris County. Lena Hidalgo sends me a bill once a year.
Why?
Sarah, let me finish the sentence. Lena Hidalgo tries to overestimate the value of my property every year. It's unbelievable. There's
Yeah.
no Democrat trying to lower property
Sounds
tax.
good, and that's because Greg Abbott is sitting on $55 billion of our state sales tax revenue.
Just because
He is
Greg
purposely
Abbott,
starving localities so they have no choice but to raise property taxes just to keep the light on. Texas is not broke. It is mismanaged. Greg Abbott is hoarding state sales
Sarah,
tax
just
revenue
because Abbott's bad
and
doesn't
not
mean
using it.
just because one thing's bad doesn't mean something else is better.
Well, what are you
I
supposed
don't
to
like
do?
Abbott either. I don't like Dan
What are you
Patrick
supposed
either.
to do? Let our cities crumble? No, they have to raise property taxes because Abbott will not release
You just
state
said you wanted
sales
to
tax.
lower property taxes.
I do, which is why we got to get rid of them.
Now you're saying you
which
want to
is
raise
why
property
we have
taxes.
to get rid of a government who will not release the state sales tax.
Now you're an insurrectionist? Sarah, you want to overthrow the government? Unbelievable. Terrible.
Kenny, you're hilarious. This
Sarah,
is
you are
so funny.
I will say this, you are a good sport for putting up with me. Most people
yeah.
don't realize this. I am a guy that tells dick jokes for a living.
That's fine.
So it was great when you
Yeah.
took the invitation.
I do not. I do not do the same things, but this has been fun.
And you and I have some mutual friends. I will say you
Yeah.
have been a good sport, and I appreciate that. If people do want to support you, how can they find out more about what you're doing?
So if you go to my Twitter page, my link to my website is up at the top, and then also it's McGee4TX.com. So McGeeForTX.com is my website.
Sarah, I will tell you this: in the Democrat primary for District 132, in the Democrat primary,
I actually don't have a primary challenger.
well,
so.
I was just going to endorse you.
Oh.
You have in the Democrat primary, you have my endorsement. Because you are a good sport, I will shake your hand.
Okay, perfect.
Most
you.
liberal Democrats do not come and do this radio show.
I would do it again. Like I'm not. I have to have these conversations.
We will bring you back.
Okay,
we will
sounds
bring
good.
you back.
Maybe after the primary next
Hey,
year.
I'm Kenny Webster. Quick reminder, I will be, let me put it back up on the screen here. We are doing a comedy show this weekend in Fort Worth. If you guys aren't doing anything, come join me and Jesse Payton at Big Laugh Comedy Club. We are going to be in the Panther Room. 4 shows, 2 shows Friday night, 2 shows Saturday night. And follow Sara McGee on social media. Apparently she loves Republican voters. I'm Kenny Webster. I'm going to run. Y'all have a great